G'day folks. Well, as some of you who follow me on Twitter will know, I have lost a bit of interest in DayZ of late. And that's been because the servers that I like to play on, they're fantastic servers, but I've just been finding I get KOS'd a hell of a lot. And what I'm always looking for when it comes to DayZ is interaction over kills and deaths and so on like that. So I've actually stopped playing at the moment. I've been playing a bit of PUBG, checked out a bit of Scum, but my heart is and always will be with DayZ. So a lot of people who come in and watch me stream have also said the same. I've even seen people on Twitter posting very, very similar. So what I've been bandying the idea about for a while is to actually go and create a whitelisted interaction focused server. Will it be successful? Bugger if I know. But it seems like there are people who feel the same as me, which I'll get into shortly. But you know, there's a lot of us out there who are looking more for memorable moments as opposed to pure PvP moments. We still enjoy a bit of PvP. I suck at it, but I still enjoy it. And you know, when I win, my heart's pumping, the blood's racing, and all the rest of it. But more than that, what we crave is interaction. Whether it be someone being friendly, which there's plenty of people like myself who like to be friendly, or those true legends of the game, the ones who play probably the hardest profile to play, and that is a true bandit, the sort of person who's prepared to try to incapacitate you, whether it be through rubber bullets or a taser in a mod, breaking your legs. Not that you can do that so much nowadays, but Lucian Pin with his fantastic medical attention mod has got broken legs back in. So it's increasing the options. DayZ right now has pretty much very limited in that you end up in a gunfight, you're going to end up dead, which is kind of sad. You know, I remember those epic days back in the early patches where you could be uncon for 10 minutes or so, just sitting there praying that your character would get up, not knowing what had happened. If you were a lone wolf, you were really worried about what was going to happen, and if you had your mates and they were in TeamSpeak or Discord now with you and telling you that they were still fighting, and you're laying there, praying to God that they don't shoot you again and kill you, and not knowing whether you were actually going to get up or bleed out, and a lot of that is missing from DayZ now, in my opinion. So rather than end up like a lot of people who end up shitting on the game and saying it's bullshit now and all the rest of it, and they go off and they play something else, I would like to try again at starting up a server. I've had a number of people say that they're willing to help back it, and I've been chatting with some of them and some people who've got the skills that I clearly don't have, as you can see by the logo of the server. It's a poorly edited version I found from an image on the web. Unfortunately, the person has deleted his Reddit account now, so I can't actually give them credit, but Buns and Ammo was in the watermark of the image on Imgur that I grabbed from the link that's in the description. So whoever you are, Buns and Ammo, thank you so much. So hopefully, if this does kick off, we can get a more professional looking one done. But the reason I went with Dean's Beans is there's no right or wrong way to play DayZ, but I personally, more so now, like back when I first started playing DayZ, I was like everyone, running around and just killing and getting into epic PvP gunfights at the Northwest Airfield and Northeast Airfield and Cherno and Electro and Belota tents and Moschino tents and everywhere else on the map. But Dean Hall's original vision for the game, which I'm going to stop now and I'm going to play some audio from an interview with Pitstop Head and Brian Hicks talking about what Dean's version of the game was.
People often compare you to Dean Hall, and they talk about Dean's vision for the game. Mm-hmm. How is that your vision for the game? Because obviously, having taken over from Dean Hall, people were kind of expecting you to do the same thing. But is that how you see your role? What have you brought to that position?
Well, early on, when Dean was still in the project, often I would, you could say, put my foot in my mouth when it came to how firm I was on Dean's vision. Mm-hmm. and what the game was. There were situations like I was once quoted saying that the infected will never be as much of a threat as another player. And I still hold true to that. But a lot of people took that as me saying that that we'll never have good infected, like ever. Dean actually had to come to my rescue a couple times and say, the thing about Brian is he's what we call a true believer. Like, he firmly believes in every aspect of DayZ. And to this day, I still firmly believe that it doesn't matter how advanced your AI is at all. The end-all be-all is that with another human, you can never truly know what their intentions are, what's going on behind their monitor. With AI, it doesn't matter how advanced it is, you can, with time and effort, learn the ins and outs of the AI. You can know exactly what to do in every situation. But with humans, you can't. Because you can never truly know what they're thinking. I mean, you can take the approach of everybody's a threat, so just shoot everybody, but then you rob yourself of the greatest part of DayZ, which is that human interaction. It's when you play DayZ, it's not the infected that make your hands shake and your heart beat faster. It's the sheer risk of losing all of your progress to this unknown element. You don't know how good this other person is. You don't know whether or not they have friends, whether or not they have a surprise grenade in their pocket. You can never truly know. So when it comes to me and the vision for DayZ that Dean had, I think through time I've actually backed off that a bit, because Dean's vision was and is significantly more hardcore than I'd say 99% of the player base of DayZ wants. I mean, we're talking about a vision where Dean wanted the simple act of finding a can of food to be the high point of your day. Like when we sat down with Marek, the CEO, the vision from day one, when I first joined the team and there was like 4 people on it, was that every action should be a serious point of contemplation for you. When you see another player, you should be considering everything from, do I want to bother wasting the limited ammunition I have on this person? Can this person help me? Like, every element should be thought out, and just finding basic food should be huge. And the fact of the matter is as fascinating and compelling as that gameplay is, it's very, very, very slow. That is a very slow burn. And if nothing else, the last 3 years or so of early access has shown that the players, they want that interaction. It needs to be valuable interaction, because you can't have it happening every 10 seconds, else it loses its allure. But it needs, they need that player interaction. Most folks don't want to spend all day to find let's say an AKM. There's a sweet spot somewhere there between finding an AKM 20 minutes after you spawn, or finding an AKM 6 hours after you spawn. And for me, it's been trying to maintain that hardcore vision, but reach a level of playability. And when you deal with a 256 square kilometer map and 20,000+ items spread over hundreds of thousands, in some case millions potential spawn points, and 60 players, even though I desperately want it to be a lot more, it is an incredibly difficult thing to get to that right spot. So for me, it's for me, I think what I brought to it, I guess, to answer this question I've been rambling on for quite some time, is coming to grips with the reality of game design versus punishing simulator, and finding a balance between the two. And let me tell you, that is not an easy task when the engine's being developed alongside it. And all these mechanics that we set forth, we want to do, the soft skills, the base building, every design decision we've made has to take a pause and wait for the technology to catch up to enable us to do that. And to still maintain a playable game on these legacy systems, it's difficult. So yeah, for me, it's about finding that balance between playability and punishing.
Now, as you would have listened, Dean's version of the game was for a very extreme, hardcore style of gameplay, which 99% of people out there aren't going to play. But DayZ's still got a pretty decent player base. And I think a lot of people have, not a lot, but some people have left the game because they just can't find a server that's hardcore enough and more focused on interaction for their needs. So the idea for this server is a server that hardly anyone is going to want to play. A small handful of people who aren't fussed about the fact that there might only be 10 to 20 people on max, maybe even less than that. Clothing will be uncommon, so if your clothes get damaged, you're going to need to have a sewing kit on you or be lucky to find more clothes. It's not just going to be everywhere. In fact, loot overall is going to be hard to find. Tinned food, rice, that sort of stuff is going to be very rare to find. Domestic animals will be uncommon. Maybe chickens will be a little bit more common. Now, we don't want people just dying over and over and over and over and over. But as we all know, the chicken doesn't really give you a hell of a lot, just enough to stave off the initial advances of hunger. But yeah, fruit spawns from trees will be rare. Mushrooms will be more common because that entices people to get off the beaten track, away from the populated areas, and go for a more survival approach to the server. Zombies will be common to very common, but they won't have a lot of loot on them. You'd be lucky to find one with a backpack or a vest on or something like that. So just going and killing a bunch of zombies and expecting to find canned food, tin food and stuff like that ain't going to happen. We want zombies to be a threat for what this server is going to be. Wolves will be, at the moment, maybe if they fix it down the line, but wolves right now, they can be killed with a swing of an axe. So we'd be looking at amping up the hit points of a wolf to make them more of a threat. At the moment, I've taken on packs of wolves, 4, 5, 6 wolves by myself with an axe and just destroyed them. That's not in the spirit of what this server is meant to be. Bears, if we do the Churnerus map, I'd really love to do Livonia, but I think to begin with would be better off to do Churnerus. We would be adding bears and leaving them the way they are for the time being until we get a feel for just how harsh they are. Maybe up the numbers of them so that there are more of them around, so that people are having to be more careful. Vehicles will be rare and would optimally spawn needing a lot of items. It wouldn't be a case of finding one with just needs a tyre. Most likely you'd be needing almost everything bar, it's got one tyre or a battery or a radiator or a spark plug already in it. Vehicles are going to be almost N-tier loot. The server I mainly play on, DayZ Down Under, which is a fantastic Australian-New Zealand server. I know a lot of people play it from interstate, but they do airdrops on the server. Now, I know some people would be thinking straight away that airdrops aren't really hardcore, but I love the way they do it on there. There is no notification. It just drops, and you've got to basically be lucky enough to see or hear the plane, then try and work out what direction that plane was flying. If you're in the middle of the map, you don't know whether it's dropped already or whether it's still yet to drop. So something designed to get people moving around the map rather than just sitting in their little corner of the map and hiding up in their little hidey hole. More on that. Knives would be uncommon. Stone knives would deteriorate quickly. So it's still a bit of a challenge. You might find yourself grabbing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stones when you find them on the dirt tracks and that. Stones would be relatively common. Would play with that and see how that pans out down the line. But yeah, to make it, again, a reason for you to have to keep on going out and looking for food to be able to stay alive. We would definitely be having the medical attention mod and also looking at the food deterioration mod that Lucian Pin has just introduced as well. Meaning that you can't just sit there, kill a bunch of animals, if you're lucky enough to find a pack of wolves and kill all 6 of them, skin them, gut them, get all the meat and that off them. Food will deteriorate. There's a mod with that where you need salt to store it. It's quite complicated, but again, we would look at that and see how that pans out, whether the better way is to go with less meat comes off them or whether more meat comes off them but it deteriorates. We'd look at harvest rates from crops. But I feel with food deterioration that might not be too necessary. Spoilage would solve that issue, but again, that would be something that we would play with. Building supplies would be rare. I'll try to reduce the amount of lumber stacks, to have people more having to get out and chop wood from trees and cut it up into planks and so on. Nails would be rare, so that having a base, you wouldn't be seeing on some of the hardcore servers I've played on, you'll end up with these bases which have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 airlocks and vaults and so on inside them. Most people would be happy just to be able to get up one wall with a gate on it to be able to have their own little secure hidey hole. Raid tools would be very rare, so that when you get them, you really choose target carefully. Again, with some of the hardcore servers I've been on, I feel there's too many raid tools out there, so it's not enabling people, especially the smaller players, the lone wolf players who have their one little hidey hole they've got. Yes, I know you can go and bury a stash and make a crate and all the rest of it, but yeah, it's something that it would need a lot of balancing, and people would have to be patient to begin with until we get the balance right. But making it so that being able to build a base is hard enough, let alone being able to raid a base, so that people are only going for small places, not the big warehouses which they turn into a virtual fortress. Improv tents would be available, but you would be needing to skin leather. It's something that I loved the idea of on DayZ Down Under. So killing animals would be a must, so having to get out and hunt, which you're going to need to do for food in any case, but you're also going to need to get a barrel and craft canned leather, and then make improvised tents. So that would be something that we'd be looking at, but again, with the rarity of animals, hopefully, again, playing with the balance, those wouldn't be too common. I'd like to see maybe 2, 3, 4 tops for people. Part of the reason for that as well is it would impact on the server performance, having too many bases around. So the less storage that's out there, the more people are having to get out and loot around the map, and just to try and find the basics for survival. Tents would be rare to extremely rare, depending on the size. Heli spawns would be the main place to find good loot if possible, such as those tents or your more rare rifles. Which, speaking of rifles, military rifles will be extremely rare. They should be like, oh my god, I've just found an AK. On that, ammo will be rare, so it will be valued. Do I shoot at this person, or do I need to save it for hunting purposes, and especially the military tier ammo as well? I know there's some issues there with like your Mosin ammo, your 9mm and so on, because some of the submachine guns take that same sort of ammo. The AK ammo, AKM ammo, SKS, also the BK18. So again, having to look at ways to play it, but optimally I envisage ammo spawning in small stacks of like 1 to 5 rounds when you're lucky enough to find them, and a box of ammo would be, oh my freaking god. FPP, no crosshairs, that's a given. The big factor for this is going to be about the way that we're expecting people to interact. And this comes back to the main issue of why I've decided I'd like to look at starting my own server. This is still not a definite, but it's something I've been talking about, getting advice from people as to whether it's feasible or not. Overwhelmingly, it sounds like it's going to be fucking hard, but it's something that there is a bit of a demand for it. Not a huge demand. I don't ever expect this to be a number 1 to 10 server population, but I think there's going to be enough people out there to maybe make this viable. But the main thing is going to be that the expectation is going to be on everyone that every action you take adds to the story of the server. Not just your own story, but the story of the other person. So if you come across a person sitting in a campfire, he is cooking meat, you don't just sit there and just shoot him straight away. You walk up, gun out, hold him up, interact with him in some way, shape. I don't care whether you end up killing him, but just give him something other than a "you are dead" screen. Whether you knock him out, tie him up, and then go from there. But someone who is just killing and killing and killing, that's not going to be the sort of person we want on the server, unless they're adding something to the story. I'd love it if there was a psychopathic serial killer like Danny Boy. He's probably one of the best killers I have seen in DayZ. It's he's criminally undersubbed for the work he's done, but then again, making videos there for quite some time. Rumours he may be coming back, so watch his space. I'll try and put a link to the description and popping up on the screen now for his channel. But we're after more the people like the Lonely Bandit who are going to rob. You don't have to be friendly. You don't have to be all comedic and all the rest of it. If you watch some of the Lonely Bandit's old stuff, the guy was a frickin' cunt to people when he robbed them at times. But that was great. That was his shtick. That was his angle that he took. It was something that I guarantee every person he robbed in one of his videos like that, they still remember it to this day. That they were robbed by this guy who wasn't into hugs and kisses and all the rest of it. He was in drop your fucking gear or I'll kill you, and that's an interaction, something that they'll remember. I've been robbed by a couple of fellas. Some of you may have heard of Ben Fruit and Ardiddy. And again, I'll try and put a link to it in the video, but I remember it to this day. It fucking pissed me off, but it was an interaction, something I remembered, something I valued so much. I made a video on it. That's going to be the point of the server, so much to the point that if you feel you were killed in a way that was shit, you can actually lodge a report, but you can only do it if you're recording. So nearly everyone has some way of recording their gameplay, whether it be shadow play or other software, but you're going to need to record it, upload it, lodge a report. The admin team will review it, and if the person is found to have basically killed you in a way that did not add any story to the situation, then they will be spoken to. Now, if you're standing out in the middle of a field, alt-tabbed out of your screen, and the bloke has no way of safely getting up to you, they're not going to get a warning for that. That's just, you're a dickhead, you deserve to fucking die. But if you're, like I mentioned before, the guy sitting by a campfire in the woods and someone just sneaks up on you and kills you, nah, that's bullshit. They should have tried to interact in some way, shape or form. So warning system will be basically a 3-strike rule and you will be banned from the server. It's going to be a whitelisted server, so everyone's going to have to apply. And the series of questions that they will, again, this is stuff I've got to look at, but a way to have people answering a series of questions that explain the ethos of the server and what is expected of them if they are accepted as joining the server. People will be really emphasize that all about adding to the value of the server and other players' experience. And that may mean you take an L, but as long as it adds to the overall ethos of the server, you're happy with that. Looking at basing the server in the US, I know that might upset some of my fellow Australian and Kiwi fans, but the reason for that is optimally no one wants to be playing on a server where they're the only one. So my thoughts are that having it based in the US, probably in Dallas is where I remember getting the best ping to back in the day. That way people from the EU, from within the US and also from here in Australia can play with the ping for me to the US is between 200 to 300, which isn't great. But like I said, this server is going to be more about interaction as opposed to pure PvP. The server name, DeanZ. Well, as you saw in the interview that we played before, I tried to find it, but I couldn't. But I have this recollection of Dean Hall doing an interview where he said that you'd be so excited when you find a can of beans. And that always stuck in my head. So, DeanZ. Server pop would probably start with only about 30 slots to begin with. I'd love to go all in, but that's just not good sense. We would start with around about 30 slots maybe. We'd be asking people not to have alt accounts. Stick to the one account. Whitelist, begin with, it would be always whitelisted. Maybe down the line we could look at doing it similar to how DayZ Underground do it and have it only whitelisted during weekends. Open, so to, maybe get some new people dipping their toes in. I know a lot of people just can't be fucked applying for a whitelist. But initially, I think it would be important to create an ethos of the server, then maybe look at opening it up to other people. Mods to implement, well, definitely medical attention would be on there. Other ones would be discussed And that's where I'm asking, if there's anyone out there watching this video who likes this idea, please join my Discord. There's a link in the description. I've got a channel set up. I'm not the sharpest tool, folks. DM4 from the Pipsy community has agreed to help me with trying to learn how to do the server loads and changing values of stuff. But if there are people out there, this is a huge workload. My mate Spud from DeanZ Down Under has told me just how much work goes into running a server. And I know I'm probably hamstringing myself here by looking at starting a server again. I did used to run one back in the days, Aussie Convicts, for those who remember it, but that was easy work compared to what these servers require these days. And we had quite a decent team of people who all shared the workload there. The last area on this is factions. I would look at them as we go. People like playing with their friends, but my fear there is sometimes factions can get so big that they start to dominate the server and not as enjoyable for others around them. So we would look at that. The big ethos of the server is that the actual server itself should be just as much of a threat, if not the biggest threat to you, than other players and AI on the server. Guys and girls, I hope this is something that I really would like to get this off the ground and up and running within the next month or so, not sooner. Yeah, if you feel you've got an interest in it and you've got skills that you can add, even if you're just like myself and willing to learn, join my Discord. Leave a message in there saying, yeah, Boydie, I'm interested in the DeanZ server. I'll give you a tag so you can enter the room. But I've talked about this enough. There's enough people kicking me in the bum saying, when are we going to do this, Boydie? We need to get this done. And yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm also very, very excited for this. I hope it's something that the DeanZ community, who are like myself, who are looking for that more grueling experience, that grinding experience, DeanZ, as opposed to the quick loot AI trader servers, and even the other traders, which are, or the other servers that are more focused on faction play and interactions, which will have quite considerable loot. Like this one, I envisage, you know, be lucky to find maybe weapons by a big tent, sort of thing. I'm thinking with finding a gun will be something you'll be very excited about. You'll be grabbing every scrap of ammo, whether it be 22 ammo or, you know, you find an amphibia, you'd grab the bloody thing because it's something that can help you with survival. Anyway, let's see how we go with this. All the best and ciao for now.